Well, Matt, this stretch of Interstate 15 is about 2 miles south of the Ogden airport, but that pilot did not have enough time to get back, and she faced some obstacles like some power lines and that overpass in the distance. She got through all of that, used these lanes of traffic as a runway, and somehow landed as that plane lost power.
Hi, Tower, 3206 Romeo going.
06 Romeo, roger.
The freeway going down.
Axiom Aviation's Piper Arrow made a safe emergency landing on I-15 over Memorial Day weekend. As pilots, we always ask ourselves, is it possible to experience a partial power loss or other emergency situations while we're flying? And the answer is, of course it is. While flying in and of itself is not particularly difficult, pilots at Axiom Aviation receive detailed training on how to react in emergency situations, in multiple emergency situations. So while we know any of our flight instructors could have landed that plane safely that day, it was 19-year-old Bailey Parks that exemplified near perfect flying and emergency procedures in getting that airplane safely on the ground, saving the lives of everybody on board and the onlookers as well.
All right, I'm Bailey Parks. I'm a flight instructor with Axiom Aviation. I have my CFI, CFII, and MEI. It was a perfect day to fly the Piper Arrow down to St. George with my commercial pilot, student Tim. We started the engine up and we taxied to the run-up area, which is where we do a thorough check of all the engine instruments and gauges. I had that extra time to make sure everything was in the green so it'd be ready to go. So we lined up on the runway and we started takeoff. Shortly after takeoff, my student wanted to start climbing out. I told him, leave the nose down a little bit, we want to get some airspeed to be able to bring our gear up. So as soon as we brought our gear up, we weren't climbing. We get what's called out of ground effect, and we get a little bit more drag. We only made it as high as the hangars at the end of the runway before we immediately started to descend. Natural instinct is to start to pull back, but I knew that pulling back was going to make the airplane stall and nosedive into the ground. So I just kept telling Tim to keep that nose down to try to gain airspeed. I knew pretty quick that we weren't going to be able to climb out, let alone clear the billboards, power lines, or overpass. So we saw what's called the stall light flicker, which is saying that a stall is approaching. And so that's when I said my controls, and Tim immediately said your controls, and I took over the aircraft. So I immediately get us lined up with the freeway, and I pick a car. I'm like, I'm gonna land right behind that car. So we're in a low-wing aircraft, as you can see, and I can't see underneath me. So after lining up with the Interstate, we were quickly descending with full power. As we were about to touch down, I threaded the power lines in the overpass. I threw the gear lever down, and I told Ogden Tower that we were going down. The plane tapped the car, and I greased the landing onto the road. We landed on the left side of the road, so as I'm looking behind me, I'm trying to taxi over to the right side so traffic could still get by as I'm talking to Ogden Tower. My only option was to land on I-15. A partial power loss, maybe being 100, 150 feet off the ground, with a total of 20 seconds from takeoff to landing, with 2 souls on board and lives on the freeway. My safest and only option was to fight the natural instinct and to do what would save everyone involved. I was trained for this situation. I was as prepared as I possibly could have been, and as a result, we had no injuries.
It's the only place she could have landed at the time, so she made a good decision.
Everyone thankful a serious accident was avoided.
We owe a lot to the flight instructors and maintenance personnel here at Axiom Aviation for their attention to detail and their dedication to safety. They have continually exemplified exceptional flying and performance. Who better to learn from than those who have been intensely trained to keep you safe? If you are interested in flying, call us at Axiom Aviation and learn from the highest qualified flight instructors in the industry.